that to the Chief Executive or to anybody else.
The member's time has expired. Honourable Craig Foss, this is a 10-minute call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Thank you, Mr Speaker. Firstly, let me acknowledge the original incident about as it's unravelled in this chamber and across the media over recent days. As I reiterate what Minister Collins said, I think, as most members think, the release, accidental or otherwise, of the information was unacceptable, unsatisfactory, simply not good enough. Quite simply, yes, members, but let's just acknowledge that, because there's some politicisation happening here which is starting to go away from the core issue, and the member made his point, so I'll start to make mine. But I reiterate, it is simply not good enough. So, Mr Speaker, I will come to a point about what's happened since these revelations came to the attention of the Minister in charge and how that has been reacted to, managed. And it is not to say there may not be other issues that may arise, as some members have been speaking, or what else has been going on, but I do note, and I'm very cautious, and I do urge other members to note that there are one, possibly two investigations going on here about different parts of this scenario, if you want. As the paper that was released on Friday, the Minister announced the papers and ACC are cooperating fully with the Privacy Commissioner to discover, to learn, to share, to find out how it happened, maybe why it happened. Terms of reference are still being worked on, I understand, Mr Speaker, but the reaction to what was an unacceptable event, I'd like to think an accidental unacceptable event with consequences which we're discussing now, has been addressed. I think we really do need to separate those issues, because there's also possibly a police are looking at or investigation about some of the other issues in this space, which the other member was talking about, and that's fine, but let's just kind of modular, if you want, what's going on, because the key issue in events like this is understanding and acknowledging what's happened, trying to learn how it happened, intentional or otherwise, problems in a system or gaps in a system. They may have been there for many years. We just don't know, actually. We're yet to find out. And then some of the other issues which are clouding this space right at this moment. And members I have been as surprised as other members about some of the events that seem to have been portrayed out there. But I will agree with the other member, in fact the previous speaker, about much of what he says. It is about trust. That's quite right. And so to hold, regain, earn that trust is what the Minister Collins and ACC with the Privacy Commissioner, the inquiry into how this is happening, it's all about holding trust, because the member's right. New Zealanders do and do need to, and by and large I think they do, have a large amount of trust in not only the ability of ACC to manage an accident, whatever that may be, and their earnings, all the issues in and around that, but also the ability of ACC to fulfil its obligations under its Act over a lifetime. It can be 20, 25 years. The member did note, and I just urge members, they can speak, excuse me, Mr Speaker, quite laterally, I know, but I just urge caution on standing on a ladder of righteousness or something around sensitive claims. They are very, very sensitive. And I appreciate members, as just members of Parliament, they have many issues come across their desks, but let's just make sure we treat everything with the respect and the dignity, regardless of what may or may not have happened, to that particular individual and the circumstances, whatever they are, that have put them into a place where their name, where their review lodgement date, their client name, their file reference number, or their branch identification category, and perhaps an review outcome, has been sent inadvertently, let's just assume for the moment, I'm quite sure that is the case, I certainly hope so, to some other party, and then there's a bit of activity after that. But as far as ACC is concerned, so I just want to go back to what's happened subsequent to this. So yes, here we are having this urgent debate, Mr. Speaker, in the House, and members have raised their points. And to be fair, there's a general theme of a surprise at this event. This is the ACC inadvertent release of information, the need for there to be trust, and then there's been some politics, sure, at the margin, and some other events come through. But what has happened, Mr. Speaker, there's one bit, excuse me, Mr. Speaker, just after some statistics of what ACC has done since. So as at last Thursday, when the Minister, around that time, and everyone became aware of this issue, ACC acknowledged that they needed to contact 6,752 clients those earlier details may have been sent in one way, shape or form to the recipient. Let's just leave it there for the moment. They have tried, as at last Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning, to contact 4,457 of them. They've successfully spoken to 2,611 of them and were unable to communicate with 1,846. Now that was last Thursday. Mr. Speaker, that's not to dilute in any way, shape or form what's happened. My point is to the trust that New Zealanders, and I think most of the House, maintain in ACC is their reaction to what's happened here and what system solutions are being put in play to fix it, to remedy it. And I do acknowledge Minister Collins' leadership here and putting in place the machinery, if you want, for this to be addressed. I think we have to be so careful in some theories about what might have gone on, and the next layer and the next layer of what may have gone on, and some connections and some influence. Yes, some members are able to allege those if they want, but to me, Mr. Speaker, I trust ACC to do the job they are charged to do. On the whole, they do a fantastic job. This is certainly a bump in the road, which I don't think they needed, required, New Zealand did not need nor require, not because political reasons, Mr. Speaker, simply to maintain trust in such a great and solid entity, which is now in a very strong financial position, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker, just pursuant to the rebuilding of trust, or for people to help engage, I know other members have pointed a few things out, but I do endorse that any person who believes the details, as basic as they might have been shared inadvertently or their privacy breached via ACC, and that the particular item we're talking about, that they do call the 0800 number to engage with ACC, to discuss with ACC. I acknowledge if that previous member said different messages were being sent out, we need to look at that, and I'll be interested to hear a bit more about that, if in fact that is what is happening from ACC's point of view. So, Mr. Speaker, if anyone is aware of anyone or think they may, just share the 0800 number, but let's make sure members aren't breaching the trust and the privacy of those members, particularly the sensitive claims part of this, inadvertently, I'm sure, as the politics of this thing plays out in this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Louise Hubson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've heard some fantastic contributions from this side of the House.